artist meets the activist. Together they create a force that impresses and impacts. Welcome to another episode of Dada Next Door, the podcast that showcases amazing raw talent, displays the efforts made in activism, and goes a step further to highlight the phenomenal women who actually step outside their comfort zone and challenge the status quo in a bid to create actual, tangible social change. My name is Annie Agasa, and I will be your host today. We're very, very happy to have you here. Aren't we, Camilla?
Very happy. Thank you for having me.
This is Camilla, our guest. It is our pleasure. Yes, Camilla is many things. She is a poet. She is a painter. She's an artist of very many talents. But before we get her to introduce herself in that way, I'd like you to introduce yourself in a very interesting way. Mm-hmm. So pick an adjective, 3 to 5 adjectives that both describe you and start with the same letter as your name.
Okay. 3 to 5 adjectives.
5, yes.
The first one I'll go with is calming, CALMING. The second one I'd go with is chaotic, because I have a strange duality of I'm very calming and I'm very chaotic in my mind. There's so much going on in my head. Third adjective I'd go with is C. That is
Third for the win.
Third for the win. Okay.
I could throw out some random words and tell me if I'm right or wrong. Okay. Courageous.
Yeah. Say that, but in certain spaces. Yeah, in certain spaces.
Okay.
I still haven't been able to fully embody that in everywhere that I go to. So still working on it.
Okay.
Yes.
I throw one more. Charismatic.
Wow. Thank you.
Question mark?
Question mark, but yes.
Yes. Okay, fantastic. Karibu sana kwa show.
Thank you.
Please go on and introduce yourself to us the way you know how.
My name is Camilla. Stage name, I'd call myself CAMILLANIN. I don't remember where that name came from. I just wanted to lengthen my name instead of shortening it like most people do. So I am a scientist. I am an artist. I tend to call myself a sci-artist. So scientist and an artist put together. Basically, if science and art had a baby, it would be me. So I am also a performing spoken word poet. Spoken word and poetry are apparently two different things, but my work again is very structurally chaotic. So spoken word poet. I also just love doing everything that has to do with using my head and my hands. So I'm a very hands craftsmith. I'm a very handy person, and I just like learning new things and learning new skills as I go. So I have a couple of skills under my belt. There's so many things I can do. I'm a hairdresser, I can do crocheting, I can do makeup, I can do body art, so many things. So yes, in a nutshell.
That's quite a nutshell. I'm feeling pretty smart about myself right now because I also lengthened my name instead of shortening it from Anne to Annie. Clap for me. You actually clapped, thank you.
Pamoja na jingle za kuongeza sauti.
Okay, so at what point did you figure out that you can put together this calm nature and this chaotic nature and somehow art comes out of it?
I still have been wrestling with both sides because it's not like I've come to just fully accept that yet. But I just just letting myself flow with it and just exposing and not really exposing, but just not hiding that from how I create in all the mainly mediums I used to create. So for example, in my poetry, I won't follow a certain structure. I'll say what I need to say and I'll say how it is in my brain. I will not try to censor myself in any way. I'll also not try to just follow a certain way of, okay, so this is the rules, this is how you write a sonnet, this is how you, I will not follow those rules. I will just make art in its raw form. That's how I'll put it. So in terms of creating, yes, but when it comes to, but also, I'm realizing also with this other scientific side of mine, there's a lot of, in as much as you follow formulas and stuff, there's also a lot of there's a lot of fluidity in science, if I put it like that. Like, it's not really like set and rigid as people think it is. There's so many ways to kill a rat, if I would put it like that. So just acknowledging that it's just a part of me and just not resisting it, but just letting it flow. Yeah.
So as a kid, you were always like, were you ever more inclined to science or art or... And what is the first pure form of each that you you practiced or you tried and you decided, you know what, this might be my thing?
As a kid, I can say, again, I've always been both, because I've always been book smart, though I struggled a bit in high school for reasons more than I would want to mention. But science has always come to me from the time I was a kid. But when it comes to creativity and art, my first memory of creating something has always been art, drawing. And drawing and painting, I've always found myself as the one who, in the class where everybody goes to for calligraphy, or everybody goes to have an artwork done or something, or a portrait or something of that sort. From the time I was like, again, I used to also resist it, but at when was that? I think I was 7 years old.
Oh, really?
That's my earliest memory of creating art. Then it carried over to primary school, carried over to high school and all that. Again, my first memory of writing, I started my writing, I used to write songs in my head, and I used to have like this imagination, like I'm in a recording studio somewhere. Over there I have my dad's headphones and I'm over there like, I'm gonna be such a dope singer, but I always sucked at singing. I wasn't such a great singer. So I still used to write songs. That again was from like 6-7 years old again. And then switched into rapping in high school.
Whoa.
High school I was predominantly known as a rapper. Started doing writing, what are they called? Not set pieces, these choral pieces.
Like choral verses, those ones?
Yeah, I started writing choral verses for like...
for drama?
Yes, for like the inter-house music festivals. They would win. That's where I got my first awards from in high school as a writer. Ooh. But again, I wasn't so... very out there. I'd prefer to have somebody write and give like a group, or give somebody else to do my work for me. I still wasn't... So many things happened. Okay, I used to be confident as a kid, and then some things happened and that side was really suppressed. So for the time I was still recovering, I used to give other people. Until I encountered a situation where I wrote a piece for somebody, and the statement was something about, when I'm with you, I can't get enough because you take me to heaven, hell, and back to earth in just one puff. And then the babe that I gave to perform it for me, I'm sorry, but she stood on stage like, when I'm with you, I can't get enough. So she took me to heaven, hell, and back to earth in just another moment.
Is this the point where you decided I should have done it myself?
Because there was a way I wanted it to be brought up, and I didn't want it to be said in the traditional, performance way, and I just wanted it to come out in a raw sense. That is not the point where I decided that, okay, I'm forever going to do my pieces. But that's when I just started writing and just keeping things to myself, and not really, until I got the courage to, and that courage didn't come on my own. So, yeah.
So it's not correct to say that the first time you performed was in high school. Is that correct?
Yes, the first time I performed was in high school, but I didn't do it as much. Like, I was a regular.
It wasn't frequent.
It wasn't frequent. It was... more or less, sometimes I'd do something on assembly, but then you'd hear things like, we can't hear your voice. So it will, like, I'm trying to louden my voice and people can't hear me. And sometimes it would make me feel like, maybe I'm not cut out for this.
You should ask them, hapa ni wapi? They should come to a women's slam and see the way you project your voice. Utajiuliza hapa ni wapi?
So, yeah.
You'd need to listen to Camilla presenting her pieces at Women's Slam. 2022. Go and check it out. It was actually quite amazing. How are you feeling in that moment?
Myriad of emotions. One, because that was the first time I was on stage after a very long time. I'd taken a hiatus from 2019 to 2022. Again, dealing with life stuff. And that was the first serious, like, not really, I can't really call it like serious but that was like the first time, like, okay, I'm back now. Like, I've written new pieces. This is like somehow like a new improved version of me. So again, coming back, I also had my hair cut. The last time I was on stage, I did not have my hair cut. I had so much hair, and then all of a sudden I come back, I have no hair and it's dyed. So again, it's like I didn't do it as a rebrand, but people taking things, taking you in a different way and stuff, and wondering, okay, what happened? How much like hii life ilikugongaje paka ukaamua kukata nywele, like like, so there was just that whole like, okay, I'm afraid how are people going to take me now that I'm back? Are people going to be like, oh, you left for so long, there's no space for you anymore, or that? And then there was also just a sense of like feeling like I'm back, like belonging, because to be honest, I've always felt like I'm out of place in so many spaces in my life. The creative circle and the creative communities, the one place that I came in and I felt like I belong, like this is home. And also being on stage, like it felt like the most natural thing. And just feeling that sense of like coming back home after I came, like after with the women's slam and stuff. So when I actually came, like, and also just, how would I put it? It was also the first slam that I came into having fully prepared, and I realized there's so much more to preparation than just knowing your pieces of head. And so there was that. I felt more confident. It's the first time I've ever been confident in terms of a competition. And just feeling like just a sense of gratitude. And I wasn't really like focused of like, oh my God, I have to win or something. It was just like, yo, by the way, I'm back. Like, and I'm just happy to be back.
Yes, I'm back. I'm home. Okay. Yeah. So you actually deliver your pieces with some rawness and power it's not easy to harvest just anywhere. And I'm wondering if there's any goals with this rawness and power that you hold, to put your art to use for something bigger, a bit more of creating art for the people around you, obviously art is to be consumed by the people around you. Yeah. But what about a goal? What about making a difference? What about wanting to leave your mark in the world? Is that anything that you're trying to carry your art into? Or is this a situation where you are an artist who makes art because it is art?
Okay, I'd say that it's a responsibility that I came to figure out and learn as as an artist, you don't only create for yourself. Your gift is not for yourself alone. It's not so much about just, bringing glory to self and just like doing things for self. Your art is a gift to other people. And I've just been, okay, I can say from the word go, how I write and even how like I create, even in my other art forms, even with art and stuff, I tend to I can say just generally write about the unsaid, like the things that people feel collectively, we all collectively feel, but we are afraid of voicing them out because we are afraid of being judged. We're afraid of people thinking that we are a certain type of way or not. So just harnessing that raw vulnerability from my own personal experiences and channeling it and putting out there, be like, maybe somebody will relate. Maybe somebody somewhere will just feel, not really like, oh, encouraged, inspired, but like this, there's a certain change that happens that can't even be described by words. So what I would want my art to do is I want my art to be bigger than myself. I don't want this just become like, oh, you're a good poet, you're a dope poet. No, it's just, I want it to be more than that. I don't want it to be just about bringing glory to myself, because there's so many things out here that need to be talked about, and art is a very good avenue to talk about some of these things, and poetry is one very amazing avenue to be able to like start conversations and spark conversations where there wasn't any. So yeah, that's what I'll say right now.
Okay, so that sounds like you write a lot from your own personal experiences. You create from your own experience. So how has your experience as, how is your identity and just being a woman, how does that come into your art, or how does that affect your art?
First of all, I'll start from the point of like creating primarily, not really primarily, but having your primary emotion being something that you've gone through. It's a blessing and a curse, because sometimes you put your stuff out and you'll be like, my entire heart is here. And it feels like when people are judging, they're judging something personal because it's something you've gone through and stuff. And that's why I've even had some problems with like, there's some pieces I can never perform for like a competition or something, because if I do it, it will be like, you're judging my baby. So yes, there are pieces I've done elsewhere apart from competitions, for example.
How does being a woman shape the art that you create?
Some of the things I have been through have been quite unfortunate, and I can say I have been able to, not at immediately, but like later on after I've processed whatever I've processed and stuff, I've been able to tap that into my work so that I can be able to just create like a safe space, a safe space of some sort, and also to just, show people that probably your experiences are not, like, you're not alone in what you're going through. Whatever you're feeling, you're not isolated, and there's always something that can be done about it. So I feel like there's a piece that I have, particularly if I would just be very particular about it, it's called My Girls Are Dying. And I know this piece is just generally on like sexual gender-based violence. And I know this is not only limited to only women, because also men go through it, but there are certain angles and certain experiences we have that are only unique to us. And just putting it in my craft also to be a way to heal me through, just like heal me so that I can be also be able to heal others through the craft. So yeah, and also other experiences. There's a piece I have about periods. I still haven't like put it out yet. And just particular experiences that like a lot of people feel like they're only going through it alone, but just like giving that voice to be like, yo, it's okay. It's okay to go through this. So yes.
It's good to know that the artist also gets healed from sharing their experiences, because I find that whenever I listen to poetry or spoken word, and I feel understood, that's the core of it, whether it's from, I feel like it's more powerful when it's from your own personal experience. But whether it is or not, feels like someone heard me, someone understood me. And especially when you're talking about such heavy topics like SGBV, sexual and gender-based violence, that goes a really long way towards affecting everyone listening to it. So in light of that, this seems like one thing that has really sparked the light or the fire of activism or artivism in your own life. Are there any other experiences that have led you to that point where you're like, I have to speak about this, I have to share my opinion about this, I have to make other people know that I've been heard, that they've been heard? Are there other experiences that have just ignited that in you?
Because a lot of my pieces also come from something that might not be like deemed as huge, like, okay, political change or something of that sort, but it's like a collective thing that a lot of people go through. So the pieces where I talk about it's heartbreak, but it's just not the usual regular heartbreak of like, oh my God, you left me. It's like just saying the raw thoughts, because I realize, with all due honesty, we really what's the thing that I wanted to say? Some things we might see them as really tiny, but they can really affect the quality of life that somebody has and might really affect somebody's mental health. So things like being in a very toxic situation and being in spaces that you don't feel understood or heard, or being in like just the struggles that come with being, like, for example, a poet, and some of the things that we go through and some of the notions that people have of us and stuff. So I have just generally speaking about the things that I want to say and I don't have the chance to say. So I think, have I answered your question?
Yes, I'm gonna give it a high rank.
Yeah.
Okay, you've talked about the challenges that you've gone through. You've talked about challenges that come with being a poet or being whatever kind of artist. What are some of the challenges, not limited to financial, to religious, to cultural? What are some of the challenges that you've experienced as a poet in the space? And as you delve into activism and artivism here and there, what are some of the challenges you'd be willing to share with us?
A huge thing that I am personally going through myself is generally finding that, more or less, I could say, balance, because life demands so many things from you, and sometimes you can be in a headspace where you can't create, you can't just put yourself out there, and sometimes it can be detrimental to, like, if you have a brand, it can be detrimental to your brand, it can be detrimental to, like, your momentum and stuff. So life requires so much from you, and sometimes it can just, like, stifle that side of you and be like, okay, I need to survive. What do I need to do to survive? I need to go to school, I need to work a job, I need to do X, Y, and Z to be able to survive. So that's just usually the hugest challenge, because sometimes it's not, I don't really want to put it in a financial sense and, like, oh, you need to make money and stuff, but, like, it takes a lot to create. So I'd say that's a huge one for me, balance, just the whole balance. And yeah.
Yeah. So most of your challenges are intrinsic. They come from trying to balance your own personal life and life.
Yeah, and also being in a space where you live a double life. So I can say double life, for lack of a better word. So there are people not really actively opposing, but they'll prefer you do other things apart from this. So there's always that constant friction that happens. So, and I'm sure a lot of people will also go through this. There are people who have very supportive circles and stuff.
Yeah.
But
From growing up, you've mentioned that you've grown up in a religious home, let's say, like, strong religious background. How has your poetry been received in this sense?
on my end, I have not really asked for feedback as much from that side, because of how polarizing my work can be. I'm afraid of my parents watching me. Let me just...
I understand.
I'm afraid of just, like, even inviting them. To date, they've never seen me perform because of that, because I'm afraid of, like, oh, they're going to think mtoto wetu ameharibika, oh, nini, that kind of thing. So I purposefully decided to not really seek as much feedback on that side. That's avoidance on my part. Probably I need to do something about it. But at the moment, it's still a point of avoidance. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, this is because you mentioned before that one of your the things you look forward to doing is to create that safe space where people are understood and are free to be raw and speak their minds. So would you tell us more about what you aim to create with these safe spaces and, some of your goals when it comes to affecting that kind of change, because this is a community, this is a big deal in the community, because in the same way that you might not be fully confident enough to share that this is the nature of my art, this is the art that I produce. There's so many other artists who are stifling their creativity because, fear of judgment, avoidance. So as one of the things that you look forward to touching on, could you give us a bit of a picture of what you aim to create?
I'd say it's more or less like a goal. I still haven't started actualizing it yet fully because of just how layered it is. But I intend, I just intend to just create a safe space where, especially girls from religious backgrounds, regardless of the religion, I don't really know, but regardless of the religion, the girls to be able to learn a lot about their sex and sexuality. And it goes way before the part where you're partnered. It goes go way back to when you start your period, for example. And a lot of things are not spoken about as much. They're really shushed, and you're left to figure out stuff on your own, and also to just take pride in yourself as a growing woman as time goes and as you grow into yourself. And I have just found, I just hope to, how I intend to do that is, now that's where I now begin with my, okay, you have to, okay, since it's a very, what is it called? It can seem very daunting to do. The logical way to go about it would be to create, just start the conversations through now the pieces and stuff. Now familiarize people with not having to censor saying some certain words. For example, I don't see the shame about saying that you're on your period. It sounds something small, but you call it every other word. Apart from I'm on my period, Shark Week, what? Those, and we don't realize that those small things eventually they somehow shame how you also view something that is a very natural and healthy process, and that also just as a whole, it somehow makes you feel like it's in a cool,
it feels shameful.
Yeah, it's but just you as a woman as a whole, basically, because if you're ashamed of that process now when you're 13, then when you're 17 and you're starting to go through things about now learning about sexuality and stuff, and you're afraid of even asking about that. And then now it goes when you're 20 and probably you now want to start dating or something. Then it goes when you're 25 and then probably you have your first heartbreak. They're just so, it goes and goes and goes. And it also goes into, for example, people who are getting married and they're getting marriage counseling and stuff. And then the topic about sex is the last thing that the pastor wants to think about, because they're oh, we're going to lead you to sin, that kind of thing. Because I've noticed that with my close friends who are getting married, and they're getting into marriage being completely oblivious about what these things are about and stuff, and it sets you up for failure, to put it like that. So in as much as there are certain people who have already started the work, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. So and also to educate people from not only from the social part, but from, because I'm a scientist, so I like dealing with facts and stuff. So there's so much to this. So
yes, there is. There are definitely levels to it, just the way you're putting it. And this is interesting because I recently had of a conversation. Two girls were talking about how when they were much younger, they had no idea that, when I'm on my period and this is heavy flow, I can actually go and use a maxi pad. So there's all the girls who always thought, the only pads available to me is the maxi pad. And they would wear it all the time. Or they'd only wear the slim ones. And every time, you can't be confident because it's going to leak. You know you're going to be in an awkward position. Just because no one was raw and honest enough with you to have that conversation.
And as a heavy bleeder myself, I agree.
You agree? Yes to all.
Yes to all. It's something big. It's it's serious, because it can be very detrimental to your confidence, because you like somehow like you fold into yourself, if I would put it like that.
Yes.
Because you're afraid of, oh my God, people are going to see, people are going to judge me, people are going to think whatever, and it's because people like you literally don't
You
know.
don't know.
I knew
No one
about
shared.
maxi pads, for example, when I was in Form 2, and I've been having my
I was
period
in,
since I was like
Form 3.
class 6. And the entire time you're out here, you're fighting. You're like, Kwani, there's something that is wrong with me. And especially, one thing I've also always been wondering is when people do pad drives, for example, you find like everybody that like donates pads, donates the to always the tiny ones and stuff. And I'm like, nobody's donating. Not every single person has a light flow.
Yeah.
What about the babes who are fighting for their lives out here?
There's God's chosen, and then there's fighting for our lives.
Yeah, so just things like that, for example. So yeah.
Okay. So as we start wrapping up, I'd like to know if there's any inspirational, influential figures, in your life or, to all of us who've kept you believing in, what you're doing, whether it's the art or the plans to create something bigger than yourself. Are there any influential figures that have kind of shaped that or at least inspired that? And in general, what keeps you inspired as you, create? Yes.
I'll start by just saying, if it wasn't for Koikari, I wouldn't have never. Koikari, Storm Almadusi. Those are like my parents in poetry. I'd say it like that. If it wasn't for the two of them, I wouldn't be where I was today. The person that gave me the biggest nudge when I didn't want to do it, and he made me apply for slam. Who starts their poetry career with slam? People do open mics. People do, shows here and there. Who starts with slam?
We go back to the beginning. Courageous Camilla.
That's how I started. He sent me a poster and told me, he'd slammed the previous year and I'd gone to watch him, and that was the first encounter I had with him performing and not really him performing, but like in that the space of a competition, and I really, really loved it. Like, it's the first event that I went to, and I was like, oh my God, I love it here. It was second preliminary 2017. He was slamming, and then he sent me a poster in 2018, the next year. And I was thinking that he's probably slamming again. I was like, I'm going to come with a +1. He's like, you apply. Because he'd always known that I'm a writer, because I'd been sending the things that I said that I've been writing and then keeping to myself.
Yeah.
Some of them I've been sending to him, and he'd be like, oh, you're good. Then he told me to apply for the slam. It's like, I've never performed. The slam, between the application point and when they're announcing the slam is a month. Less than a month, actually, like less than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So he pushed me to apply. I applied. I was surprised that I passed the auditions, and then surprised that I passed the first round. And then at the second round, somewhere it's when it started coming into me, like, yo, this is too good to be true. There's no way. Like, naweza kuwa nimepita hii yote, just like that. So imposter syndrome kicked in at that point. I forgot my lines on stage. Started again, got to that point again, realized that I'd forgotten my line on stage. I had to freestyle till the end of the piece. And I feel like that situation, it shaped me, and it also shook me, because by the time I came back on stage again, it was a while, because I was just like, that was brutal. The only good thing I can say that, thankfully for the poetry community, it's not like, the way people do rap battles and stuff, where when you mess up, you're booed off stage. So like, you're over there, you're messing up, people are snapping. So I was just like,
that would be so brutal. Yeah, the poetry community and the spoken word community is very...
Yes.
welcoming, yeah.
So Storm and Koi, there are the reasons why I am where I am. Yeah. And then there are people who've also like just given me the nudge along the way. There are people who are my day ones that I met on that slam. So some friends that I hold very dear to me that have really, really held my hand. There's the likes of Ellie Poet, the likes of Cardiac Poet, the likes of Gakenya. She knows herself. And then there are people that I've also met along the way that I've also like just helped me come into myself more as a creative. I can say the likes of Nyash, the likes of Slim Shaka, the likes of Ochiko. There are people who have just really just given me space to just blossom into who I am, and I'm just grateful for that. So, what the other question was about what keeps me going.
Yeah.
There's so much I still need to say that I haven't said. That's what keeps me going. And I'm also learning to also not necessarily just bank on what I've gone through, because it makes me very myopic. It makes me very short-sighted, because there's so many things that, like, I have a very limited experience of life. There's so much I haven't done or gone through. So I can't really bank on my experiences all the time. Also, to tell other people's stories in like a very vulnerable way also, and still keep that. So there's so much that hasn't been done, and kazini the work is plenty, but the laborers are few. That kind of thing. I'm sorry to go into a Bible verse, but yeah, there's just so much, and that's what keeps me going. And also, just again acknowledging that this is not for myself. So even the time that I decide, okay, I'm not going to share, I'm not going to put my out there, I'm not going to put myself out there, just reminding myself that you have a responsibility, and it's just not only for you, but also for the people, the generations that need your voice. So yes.
Wow, that is a solid revelation, to be honest. And, we started by saying when the artist meets the activist within themselves, that's when the impact happens. That's when the impression is made. And I love to hear you say that, because you seem to have accepted the service part of it. So as we finish up, what do you want to be remembered for?
Because one of my core values, I can say, is authenticity and just being true to myself. And it's sometimes being true to yourself that allows other people to also be true to themselves, because they see you living truthfully. And so they tap that for themselves and they live like that. So I just want to be a light, but not in the sense of like, oh, because I'm not a fan. But I want to live my life in such a way that other people will do stuff for themselves. They'll tap it and just work their magic for themselves, not because I've told them, but because they've seen how I live my life. And I'm still working on that, because there's a lot of learning and unlearning I need to do to even be able to get to the point of living truthfully. There's a lot of things, again, I'm avoiding, as I told you, with being afraid of getting feedback from. There's still a lot I need to do to be able to get to that point. But if I was to say that, it would be, just being truthful to myself, and just being able to inspire people to also be truthful to themselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
you had it yourselves from calm yet chaotic Camilla, and just so that we can keep our promises, she's going to perform for us a really, really interesting piece.
My girls are dying. Some of them are students sent to study because education is the key, but the doorkeepers are old, perversive men. My girls are dying. Some of them will be victims of first-degree murder before they even bring their first degree home. My girls are dying. Some of them are mothers. Some of them are grandmothers, but no, this doesn't protect them from predators thinking with their smaller heads, because ukujua wana kitu. My girls are dying. And the world is denying. Because somehow she must have had a hand in her own death. That's why his hands will see no handcuffs. My girls are dying because they are silent. Yet my girls are dying because they chose to speak out. My girls are dying in broad daylight. My girls are dying in the dead of the night. My girls are dying because they asked for it. Yet my girls are dying because they turned it down. My girls are dying because somehow their bodies are properties of men they've never even met. Men whose proof of ownership is a car ride, some fish and chips, a few drinks, and a payment slip at some dingy motel. And maybe, just maybe, she just wanted to sleep because she couldn't go home drunk. My girls are dying. Because they dared to love. My girls are dying. Because they rejected love. My girls are dying. Because they're beautiful. My girls are dying. Because they are not so beautiful. Therefore, revoking their right to say no, because ni wanaume wangapi wamekuangalia? My girls are dying because no isn't even an option when you have to trade your dignity in exchange for your life. No isn't even an option when you're drugged, intoxicated, or he's holding up a knife at the... I should have just closed my legs. Maybe you need to open your mind. My girls are dying because of those that watch porn, getting aroused by the exploitation of their fellow humans. So they think that all girls like it rough and in handcuff, and it's not enough. Until she's torn and bleeding, my girls are dying because of the bro code. Because seriously, all girls know a girl that's been assaulted, but no man knows a rapist. My girls are dying because of those that won't hold each other accountable so they can still be counted as their friends. My girls are dying because there are not so many people that can be counted on. My girls are dying because justice is just a pipe dream. So tell me, if I choose to believe that things will someday get better, is it optimism or is it denial? Thank you.
Had to snuff at that. That was intense.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us in the studio today and sharing all of this with us. We were very happy to have you. And if you'd like to see more about Camilla and stage name CAMILLANIN, check out the links that we're going to leave in the description below. And we will also leave some more links for other things that you will be interested about. And please check out our page for more phenomenal women such as her. And with that, say bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.